Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews Live. I'm your host, John Delray, chatting about training camp practice number 11, a blustery day here in Green Bay. You know, it started out as very cloudy, but very nice. Like, it was a very pleasant day. And then as practice kept going, the wind kept on picking up. And now, yes, it is a very windy environment here. So I do apologize if there's any audio issues. But also, who should also apologize happens to be Greg Joseph and Anders Carlson, because the kicking went downhill as practice went on substantially. I'll get to the exact numbers in just a second. But know that as practice really kind of evolved today, there was increased wind that had an effect on Jordan Love, had an effect on the kicking game. It certainly played a factor. Beyond that, though, today was one of the shorter ones. The players were predominantly just in half pads, a little bit shorter of a practice. Coming off of family night, even though it's been 2 days, it was, dare I say, one of the more lackadaisical practices that we've seen from the Green Bay Packers thus far throughout camp. Now, it is my full expectation that tomorrow morning, Matt LaFleur will talk about that energy. And then tomorrow we'll go longer, more intense, the whole thing. I don't know that for sure, but that is kind of LaFleur's pattern of, after a more lackadaisical one, then all of a sudden the next day kick it into gear a little bit more. And hey, this is game week. And the Packers kind of look like a team like, yeah, there's still things to iron out for sure. But right now, it just very much gives the aura of like, yeah, we keep on hitting our teammates. We're sick of hitting our teammates. I'm sick of going against Dean Telford for the 8th day in a row. Can I just please go hit something else now? That is very much just kind of the vibe that I'm getting around the team through a more lackadaisical practice. So with that in mind, let's dive into the injury report. It's lengthy. There is some good news here, but in some ways, yeah, this list is growing. So first of all, Josh Jacobs came back in full today. Didn't just do warm-ups, actually did all of the 11-on-11 work. Same for Zach Tom. Now, he's been back for a bit, but today he added 11-on-11s into his collection of things that he's doing. Tucker Kraft back today as well, activated off of the physically unable to perform list. He is back from his torn pec. Okay, now the bad news, because there is some of that too. Edgerrin Cooper continued to be out with his hip injury. Then we had Dimitri Stanley added to the injury list with a hamstring pull. We just can't get away from them. It's something in the water here. But Dimitri Stanley is the next victim there. Rodney Starkey, another UDFA wide receiver, he was out with a calf injury today. Carrington Valentine still out with his hamstring. Don Callis still out with his hamstring. We saw him for all of like 10 minutes one day before he pulled his hamstring. Kingsley Enagbare out with his hamstring injury. Then you still got Donovan Jennings out with his knee injury. Deslin Alexander with his leg injury. Keyshawn Banks. But then also one add to the injury report today, Jordan Morgan. He went through the vast majority of practice, but I got to say, like, it was something with the positional drills. He did something there. And then all of a sudden, you just kind of saw him kept on doing this. Like, something was just rubbing right. And I kind of, that's real loud, kind of just assumed, first of all. Woo! All right. So I kind of just assumed, like, when I saw him going like that a bunch, it was something pad related. Holy. Yeah, right. I don't know what's going on in Green Bay, but I just kind of thought that it was something like pad related, you know, because then a trainer came over and just kind of like was fiddling with the straps here, right? But then it kept on getting fiddled with. And then it kept on getting fiddled with. And then they took the pads off, and then he went inside. And when he went inside, then he never came back, at least that I saw. So it kind of went from something like, oh, the pads must be rubbing him wrong, to like, oh, something got pulled, something got tweaked. So we'll have to see when we know more about Jordan Morgan and what that ultimately means, especially as the offensive line continues to have to shuffle around in all of these different ways. We're now being encircled by helicopters. It's not me. I didn't do anything. But yeah, they are straight up encircling Titletown. Y'all can bugger off. I don't know what's going on. I didn't do it. Okay, I think we're good. All right. I don't know. But anyway, so that's the injury report for the day. If you're wondering about the starting lineup, who actually went out with the ones today, offense was predominantly the same. Jordan Love at quarterback, Josh Jacobs at running back, Dobbs, Reed, Watson, the first 3 wide receivers out. I got to say, too, I saw like Dontavian Wicks only got 6 first-team snaps at family night. And then right after that, there were like a bunch of articles written and stuff like, come on. Y'all have been watching me every day. Dontavian Wicks is still very much involved. I saw like ESPN Milwaukee. I think someone even said that like if the Packers aren't going to use him, they should trade him. God bless it. Okay, no, he's still very much involved. We don't have to worry about that. Chad saying, were those military helicopters? I'm under an umbrella, but from like the little glimpse that I saw kind of around, I think they were. Like they had that appearance, and they were full on encircling for a little while, and then they flew away. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. So anyway, and then for the offensive line, it was Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Morgan, and Tom before Morgan dipped. For the defense, again, pretty much status quo here. Gary Slayton, Kark Smith along the offensive line, McDuffie and Quay linebacker, Jair, Nixon, Stokes, the corners, McKinney, and then Bullard. It was his turn to start today next to McKinney for the defense. So next up, let's talk. I already talked about the overall mood of practice being a little bit more lackadaisical today. The passing game struggled with the higher winds. And as practice went on, I kind of struggled more and more. Jordan Love was under some pressure. There were some times where he just straight up had to throw it away. He nearly corked an assistant athletic trainer in the face one time because she wasn't looking. And it was, the passing game wasn't great today. There were just glimpses of good plays. And it's not, I don't think because the defense was particularly dominant. I think today was just, it really felt like a going through the motions type practice. Okay, so the kickers. Wolf did he wolf. Each kicker today was 4 of 7. Now, on the positive note, each one started the practice 3 of 3. Okay, we had some good things going. And then the winds picked up, and they each had 4 more attempts. So it was a set of 3, then it was a set of 3, and then 1 to really end practice. In the second set of 3, each one of them only went 1 for 3. And then they each missed their final kick. So total on the day, Anders Carlson wound up 4 for 7. He missed from 45, 41. Both of those were wide left. And then he also missed from 53. That one hit the right crossbar. Greg Joseph, also 4 for 7, missing from 45 wide right, 42 wide left. And then his last one from 53, I just put LOL, oh my goodness, so short. Because it was one of those where the wind was coming straight at them, and Joseph hit it, and the wind came, and it just died. And it just kind of spun and then went straight down. And that was kind of the way that it was ultimately for both of them today, once they started kicking into the wind. Now, on the positive note, after practice, both of them got some reps in. This was just after practice officially done, so they don't count. But both of them continued to kick straight into the wind. And it really kind of just looked like they just misjudged the wind, because after practice, they both were drilling into the wind with a fair amount of routine. Yeah, there were still some wide lefts, some wide rights. They were taking a bunch of reps, but nonetheless, it looked like there wasn't really a power issue. It looked like they were maybe in their heads a bit much. Chad saying, does Dubose look like he's taking a jump this camp? Yeah, for sure. If he puts it all together with his size and speed, he'll be another great find by Goot. The potential is there, certainly. And I got to say right now, just because even today, I always watch one-on-ones for O-line versus D-line, but I can tell you that the one guy who consistently had the crowd over on that side of the training camp complex, consistently like, ooh, whenever something would happen, was Grant Dubose. It was like every time there was some slight ovation, I'd look over, and it was Dubose who made a catch. And this, I know he had kind of a quiet family night, so let's just say, like, off the top of my head, 6 of the last 7 practices, Grant Dubose has had some kind of impact, some kind of great catch, some kind of, hey, look at me moment. And that certainly is a lot more than Billy Keith, who's had a pretty quiet camp, can say. So I got to wonder, I came in having a really good idea as to who the 6 wide receivers would be. You got your top 5 pretty well as locks, and then Keith really there is number 6. But I got to think by this point, Dubose is truly pushing for that number 6 job, unless they just value Malik Heath that much more in special teams. But I would say, is Grant Dubose making a jump? Yeah, arguably more than any other player in camp is what I would say for sure. Then just to give you kind of a rundown here, I would like the drops, the fumbles, stuff like that. As I said, lackadaisical day. There were drops today by Romeo Dobbs. That's a good indicator it was an off day. Dobbs had a drop, Marshawn Lloyd had a drop, and Luke Musgrave had a drop. Then for fumbles, Marshawn Lloyd had a fumble. Now, I know there's some, like, it was kind of sort of after the play was done, but like nonetheless, it was a fumble. The ball got punched out. Romeo Dobbs had a fumble. So each one of them had a drop and a fumble today. Then also Keyshawn Nixon just straight up had a muffed punt when they were doing special teamwork. Just the ball was just kind of flopping all over the place today. Then there were also several pass breakups. Eric Wilson had one. Zane Anderson had one. Kind of a myriad of pass breakups throughout the day as well. Then, just to take a look at, like, again, just an overall theme thing before I really get into one-on-ones, there were really two players of the day that stood out in an offensively deficient day. I got to say, like Teron Hopper, he was one of them. He made some nice plays. I saw towards the end, he got just a couple snaps at the ones, but at least he had at least one run stop in those snaps. Then also Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson, towards the end of the day, I wanted to make special note of it. There was one point. Let me just find the notes here. Yeah, they were doing one drill. It was trying to get 2 first downs for the offense. Eric Wilson blew around the offensive lineman and would have had an easy sack on Jordan Love. And they don't even call sacks in training camp. But this one was so obvious. Love was so dead to rights that they counted it as a safety for Eric Wilson. And 2 plays before that, dude had a pass breakup. Like Eric Wilson was all over today. Then in terms of trying to give a different day, I've already talked about it a bit, but yeah, the passing, just all of it. The catching, the throwing, all of it. And then the kicking. Anything past the 3 kicks was rough. All right, so now your one-on-ones. Now, I will say today I did not get every single rep of the one-on-ones because this is the first time they've done this. They actually broke up the O-line and D-line into 2 kind of camps and ran simultaneous one-on-ones, which is just, they were moving way too fast to get all of them. But this is what I was able to get. Brenton Cox, Kadeem Telfort was a very popular matchup as they went 5 times. I gave Brenton Cox Jr. 4 wins against Kadeem Telfort to his 1. And I got to say, one of them was insanely impressive. It was a swim, and it was fast. I mean, Telfort was cooked in just a millisecond off the snap. Then we had Kenny Clark going against Jordan Morgan, and this was actually a very exciting matchup. Morgan held his own once against Clark. Clark also got the best of him once. Then for another one-on-one matchup, there was TJ Slayton against Josh Myers. And this was incredibly interesting. They wound up going for 4 reps. They did 2 reps early on, and then late in the drill, they did another 2 reps. The first 2, TJ Slayton won, and it didn't even look like the man was trying. He just bull rushed Josh Myers straight into would have been straight into Jordan Love's chest. Slayton basically just picked Myers up and ran through. But when they came back around to that matchup, Myers was ready to adapt. And I thought that this was very promising because as Slayton began to push up for his bull, Myers then kind of undercut him and wound up getting Slayton down. That was on the first rep. Both of those second reps went to Myers. I thought it was very encouraging that he adapted to what Slayton was doing, but also encouraging for Slayton on the other end that he was able to bully Josh Myers so well. Then we had Wyatt versus Elton Jenkins, 1 apiece there. Smith versus Rasheed Walker. Rasheed Walker got both of those. Carl Brooks versus Sean Ryan. Carl Brooks got both of those rather handedly. Then we had Kenny Clark against Elton Jenkins, a fun matchup. Elton Jenkins got both of those. Kenny made no traction against Jenkins. And then we had LVN versus Rasheed Walker. Each one, very interesting, one rep of that rather handedly. Because for LVN's win, he kind of spun around Rasheed and got the point. The other one, though, Rasheed straight up stood up LVN and it went absolutely nowhere. So very even matchup there, 1 point apiece. Then, just to give you an idea of what else has been going on, so one player that I do want to shout out that hasn't been talked about a lot, actually 2 guys I got here, that both have been looking better in different things. I saw Wes Hockowitz, reporter for the Packers. He put out a tweet earlier about how Tyler Davis has been doing a great job as what is essentially becoming a move tight end role. And I speculated, even before they got rid of Henry Pearson, that we might see a number of different guys take on the different roles of the move tight end. Well, it's kind of just looking like Tyler Davis to this juncture, and he is doing very well, especially as a lead blocker. And I was very happy that Wes kind of highlighted that. Someone who hasn't gotten talked about enough. The other one that I would say would be Jonathan Ford. This is a guy who has just been very large. That's a huge human who in this past couple of years has been more take up space type, right? He's looking much leaner this camp, and he is making an impact, especially in run defense. I still think it's a very, very tall order for Jonathan Ford to make the roster. Nonetheless, got to say, he is looking improved. So I at least wanted to give shout outs to those two. Next up, the stream of plays. But first, what's up, IROC? Saying, great to hear them competing hard. Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, today was one of the more lackadaisical practices. It was a more, in some ways, absent-minded practice with drops, love throwing it away. And it wasn't because the defense was incredibly intense like those first couple days. I was just like, no, nothing's really working. And now it's starting to get really windy, and we're kind of tired and sick of hitting each other. So let's back her in. The thing is, as I was very surprised, was even in that mentality, LaFleur was still in a pretty good mood. There's been other days that have been very lackadaisical, and LaFleur just starts trying to light guys up, or at the very least, Rich Bisaccia does. And then you can bank on the fact that, like, LaFleur afterwards is just going to sprint back to the stadium, right? Well, today, like, Kay Adams was here. LaFleur did an interview with Kay Adams, and I saw as he was leaving the training camp complex, he signed autographs a little bit. Like, he kind of seemed in a better mood than he generally is after these more laid-back practices. So I think tomorrow the tone, I would brace for tomorrow to be a longer practice and significantly more intense. So, all right, as I promised, the stream of plays. This is just a collection of random plays throughout the day, not necessarily in order as they occurred, but just plays that I was able to write down, just to give you a flavor of what was going on. Carry for Jacobs up the right side, gain of about 8. Love to Wicks over the middle. Great catch by Wicks in contact. I will say, too, I've been very critical of Wicks with his 1 drop a day, as I've been talking about. Today, Dontavian Wicks, no drops today. Then Jacobs up the middle, showing his wiggle is what I got. 9 to 10 yards straight up the middle. Love to Dobbs, pass break up for Zane. Then Love to carry for Dillon, gain of 3 up the middle. Lloyd up the middle, gain of 3. It was like deja vu there. Pratt is the quarterback now, handoff to Lloyd, and there's the burst is what I have written. As Lloyd took a carry up the middle, he would have, now granted they're not tackling in full right now, but he would have made multiple people miss. I'm very confident in saying that. It was an impressive run by Lloyd. He had defenders at bad angles as he was emerging through the traffic of the trenches. That was an impressive run for Lloyd. Then you got Clifford to Lloyd on a pass, out, basically just an out route, just a couple yards there. Love to Watson, broken up by Jair, nearly an interception by Jair. You could tell by his reaction afterwards he really wanted that one. Love to Musgrave over the middle, just in traffic, but still an intermediate gain there. Pratt, now the QB, sweep to Wilson. Love to Dobbs for a slant, drop for Dobbs. Love to Musgrave, pressure, crosser to Musgrave, deep, and that was Musgrave's drop. Then just to give you a flavor over here, this would be the first down drill that they do. So basically they put the ball all the way back at the 2. And the challenge for the offense is to get 2 first downs. If they can get 2 in any possible way, they win the drill. If the defense doesn't allow them to get 2 first downs, the defense wins the drill. So they back it up on the 2. First, the 2s went. It was Clifford to Lloyd, couple yards. Then Clifford tipped by TJ Slayton, went nowhere. Then Clifford to, it was basically a Texas route for one of the running backs, Eric Wilson, with his pass breakup. Then the 1s come in. Love to Jacobs. Carry for Jacobs, gain 5. Then Love, play action, sack by Eric Wilson, would have been a safety. Drive is dead. 3s come in. Pratt handing it off to Merriweather, gain of 4. Then Pratt handing off to Merriweather again, gain of 3. Pratt with a slant to Toure, first down. Then Pratt with a carry for Howard, gain of 1. Then Pratt Wilson over the middle, first down. So the 3s actually won the drill there. Then the 1s got another chance. Love to Musgrave, out for a few yards. Carry for Dillon the next play. It was a gap run, which we're expecting we're going to see more of this year. Remember, I do believe that per their personnel moves and what LaFleur has been hinting at, we're going to see more gap runs, less zone runs this year. And this very much looked like a gap run for Dillon. First down, 8-yard gain for the big back. First down here, Love, play action deep to Wiggs. This is when the wind was beginning to act up, and this throw was just weird. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Love basically took the play action, rolled back, began to throw, and the ball, like, left his hand at a weird angle. And then as it was descending in its arc down to Wicks, it came in at a very weird angle. Pair that with the fact that I think Wicks actually jumped early, and it was just, the whole thing was one of those plays that you just kind of watched and went, what just happened? And I think the wind played a part on that one particular play, but nonetheless incomplete. Love to Musgrave, out for a gain of 2 to 3. Love then a slant to Reed, first down. So the offense took that rep as well. Then the last thing that I'll recap for you, unless you've got questions, is the 2-minute drill. Not exactly the most productive 2-minute drill in the world. Let's just be honest here. Only the ones did it today, really. So Love takes first down, dances around the pocket. There's pressure coming up the middle. He's got nowhere to go, throws it away, incomplete. Second down, Love to Watson. Watson kind of just camped right in the middle of a zone. That's what the defense was running here. Looked to be even too high zone. Not exactly a Halfley hallmark, but looked to be a kind of a conventional cover 2. Watson sat down right in the middle. Love hit him. First down. Then time ticking down. Only 10 seconds left on the clock. Love throws it away. 4 seconds left. They try the 53-yard field goal, and I already went over how that went. Terrible for both kickers today. So there you go. That is the flavor of the day for training camp practice. Number 11. Hope that child's okay. But that is it. That is training camp practice number 11. Now, tomorrow I'll be back for training camp practice number 12. I am expecting it to be a much more intense practice, much more to talk about. I would anticipate tomorrow before the Packers hop on a plane to go to Cleveland for the first preseason game. Also, one transaction in case you didn't see it, but in case you didn't see the news, Jacob Eason is no more. He was released yesterday, so the Packers are sitting with an open roster spot. They did try out a number of individuals yesterday, including 2 kickers. No one has been signed to this juncture yet, so the Packers continue to sit with one open roster spot following the release of Jacob Eason. All right, everybody, time for me to jump on out of here. Do hope you're having a fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow, and as always, go Pack Go.